Welcome to Blitz Interviews. Like the game of chess, it's only lasts 10 minutes. I have Bob here on the show to talk about security rating. Bob, can you tell me about yourself a bit and what the hell is security rating even mean?
Sure. So I'm chief security officer for a company called Kite. I've been in the infosec world a long time. Came out of law enforcement. I was a CISO for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I did third-party risk management at PayPal. So I've done a lot around infosec and about looking at other companies. And security rating services are essentially it's a technology that gathers data that's publicly available. It's called OSINT, open source intelligence. And from that data, then they do things like scoring, put grades, a whole bunch of different stuff. But essentially, it's an outside-in view of companies.
So a lot of companies for especially the last 2 years, move a lot of data to SaaS providers, what they call digital transformation. Now, by doing this, they started to work with even more vendors. Why do I care? Why do potentially I want to use such systems or similar systems with such vendors or maybe the different ideas?
Well, like you said, everybody's moving to the cloud. They're outsourcing data. So a lot of other companies have either access to your data, they're processing it, whatever they're doing with it, it kind of takes it out of your control. So you really need to have an understanding. Are they going to treat it the same way that you treat it? There's a lot of ways to do that. There's a whole third-party risk management process you can go through, but the reason why SRS and looking at it from the outside in is so important is that the bad actors, what they do is they're not looking at the inside of your organization. They're not looking if you're compliant. They're trying to find out where on the outside that you are not doing a good job that they can get in and steal your data. It's that simple. It's looking at your vendors the same way that bad actors do. That's why it's so important.
So let's give an example. I want to mature my HR and then just move my HR to SaaS as an example. And of course, I'm going to have a lot of data about my employees, vacation, salary, and stuff like that. Will this going to be a good example where I can apply SRS or similar?
Absolutely. Any situation where it's HR data, whether it's your customer data, whether it's intellectual property, it could be AutoCAD drawings of systems that you sent to a manufacturer to produce for yourself, anything that has value to your company, that's data. When you're outsourcing it somewhere, this is valuable to do.
Can you provide examples of what is the potential information I can find with such systems?
The potential information from security rating services?
Yes.
Is that the question? Oh, there's so much thing. There are controls about patching. There's leak credentials. There is configuration of systems such as the DNS of your email, and it goes on and on. Right now, there's hundreds of things that are publicly exposed that if somebody knows how to look for and test, they can look at those things to see, are they configured properly? Are they vulnerable to an attack? It's that much information. It's significant.
So let's come back to the HR idea. The HR people want to onboard a new HR system. In what part of the onboarding they want to look at this information? Right away, when they already chose a system?
No, you want to look at it from the very beginning. So, because once you've committed to a vendor, it's kind of hard to pull away. You don't want to find out after the fact that they have problems. Prior to signing a contract is when you want to discuss cyber hygiene with your vendor, because you have some leverage before the contract is signed. After it's signed, well, even though you have things in the contract that give you, you can audit, you can do on-sites, there's a lot of things depending upon the contract. Even though you have that in the contract, to be actually able to enforce that can be very difficult, especially if you're outsourcing to a company that's much larger than yourself.
In your history, did you saw a company onboarding a different company and they saw a bad rating or bad reputation, and they actually told them, can you fix it? And it was fixed and it was changed, and then they were able to proceed?
Yes, absolutely. I remember one of the companies that I was doing an assessment for, that it was a fairly young company. It was a startup, but the credentials they were going to handle were credentials for banks. And there were some security issues, and it was red flags that the way that company was doing business was very bad. And to the the process, what happened was the service that they were providing actually had a tremendous amount of business value. And the two companies worked together, one invested in the other to improve all these cybersecurity problems. And that third-party company today, it's publicly traded on the stock exchange. It's become a very successful company.
So I onboard a new company. Let's come back to the HR idea. Everything is nice. They score whatever they score, A, 95, whatever the scoring system. Wait, that's it? I'm done? I forget about them?
Well, yes and no. So just a scoring system, I got to be upfront with you. I don't think that cyber hygiene scores have a tremendous amount of value simply because it's a qualitative look. There's different scoring algorithms. Some of them are proprietary, so you really don't know what they mean. You don't have context. So just that alone, there's a lot of other information when you're looking at a third party that you need to ingest so you have a broad, holistic picture. That, compliance obviously is important, but there's things like we look at companies recently that have become victims to ransomware. That those companies actually had very good cyber hygiene scores, but because there are only a limited number of controls that bad actors attack during a ransomware attack, that they were able to exfiltrate a ton of money through their ransomware activities. So it's not just that score. It's an ongoing process. It's understanding context. It's understanding what data you're sharing. It's understanding what's important to your business. And if that vendor does get impacted in some way, what's that financial impact going to be to you? You really can't tell that from just a score alone. You need to understand, what's it going to cost my company if this vendor gets breached and my data goes out into the wild? That's where you really need to understand in this market.
So you, not forgetting about the company, you have a dashboard when you can metric and understand what's happening with this company along the way. And if their rating scoring on information is dropping, or there's more information coming, you want to investigate and understand what's happening, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. I call them triggers. So, you're monitoring in an ongoing process. And, once you've onboarded and you've gone through all that back and forth process of getting them into your risk appetite, getting to where you're comfortable with them, then you're pretty set. But that ongoing monitoring would let you know, did something happen that now has changed that? Are they outside of your risk tolerance level? Are there indicators that there might be a ransomware attack that could happen there? A number of other things. So it's that ongoing monitoring and letting those triggers let you know something's changed. Now I need to do a bit of a deeper dive to find out why it changed.
From your perspective, who do you think the people responsible in the company to monitor and work with your systems?
Well, I've seen it across the board. I've seen cybersecurity, the CISO. A lot of times it's their responsibility simply because it's cyber and they're the ones that really understand that. Sometimes it's procurement. Sometimes it's the risk organization. So I don't really know who would actually be responsible. It depends on the way your company is structured. So who is responsible for third-party risk in your company? And that's where the monitoring should lie.
Bob, thank you very much. A lot of good information in a very short time.
My pleasure.